Welcome to Money Explained. If you're watching this, it means surface-level answers don't satisfy you. You want to see how the system truly operates. Today, we're going far deeper. How paper money began. And how it actually functions. Not the shortcut version. Not the textbook explanation. But the real story. A story about belief, trust, control, and power. Because money isn't only economics. Money is psychology. Money is behavior. Money is history repeating itself. To truly grasp paper money, we first have to understand human nature. Humans never traded because they loved trading. They traded because they wanted security. In early societies, cooperation meant survival. People hunted together, farmed together, built together. At first, sharing came naturally. Small communities had no need for money. But as populations expanded, trust between strangers became harder. You could trust your family. You could trust your tribe. But how do you trust someone you've never seen before? That question produced value systems. Barter was the earliest attempt. But barter works only when both sides want exactly what the other offers, at the exact same time. That almost never happens. So progress slowed. Civilizations needed a store of value, a unit of account, and a medium of exchange, long before those words existed. Gold solved these problems almost by accident. Gold wasn't chosen simply because it was shiny. It was chosen because it behaved perfectly. It didn't rot. It didn't change. It didn't lose shape. Gold felt permanent, and humans crave permanence. When kings minted coins, they weren't just creating currency. They were creating authority. The stamp on each coin said one thing. This value is backed by power. Money and power were now linked forever. But power always wants flexibility. Gold limited power. You couldn't print gold. You couldn't create more in emergencies. So paper money wasn't invented to help the people. It was invented to help rulers. At first, paper behaved honestly. It represented gold 1-to-1. But temptation slowly entered the system. If no one asks questions, why not print a little more? That single idea changed history. Once governments realized people trusted paper more than metal, the rules shifted quietly. This is where money stopped being neutral. Paper money became a tool. A tool to finance wars. A tool to steer economies. A tool to manage populations. When paper separated from gold, discipline vanished. Fiat money gave governments unlimited flexibility and unlimited temptation. Today's money system rests on confidence, not intrinsic value. Confidence that tomorrow, the same paper will still buy something. Confidence that banks will hold. Confidence that governments will stay in control. That's why financial crises are psychological first. People don't rush the banks because money disappears. Money disappears because people rush the banks. Trust breaks first. Systems fail afterward. Modern money is mostly debt. When loans create money, every dollar represents an obligation. The system literally requires growth to survive. Without growth, it collapses. That's why inflation isn't a mistake. It's built in. Slow inflation pushes spending. Spending keeps the machine alive. Saving quietly punishes those who don't understand the rules. This isn't accidental. It's design. Paper money rewards motion, not stillness. Risk, not patience. People who grasp this adapt. People who don't stay confused their whole lives. Money today isn't only about wealth. It's about timing. Who receives new money first? Who receives it last? Early receivers benefit. Late receivers carry the cost. This is the Cantillon effect, even though most people experience it without knowing the name. By the time money reaches wages, prices have already risen. Understanding that shifts your entire perspective. Inflation isn't random. Booms and crashes aren't accidents. They're cycles. Cycles created by expanding and contracting credit. Paper money rarely collapses overnight. It erodes slowly. So slowly that people blame themselves instead of the system. They think they didn't work hard enough. They think they simply made bad choices. But often, the rules changed quietly. Paper money isn't evil. But it is powerful. And power without understanding becomes dangerous. That's why financial education is rarely prioritized. Systems run best when people obey the rules without questioning them. But once you understand money, your emotions disappear. You react less. You observe more. You stop chasing money. You start positioning yourself. That awareness alone changes outcomes. And that's why learning where paper money came from, and how it functions, isn't just history. It's survival knowledge. Understanding paper money also means understanding time itself. Money isn't only a store of value. It represents a claim on human effort that hasn't happened yet. When you hold money, you're really holding a promise. A promise that, someday, someone will trade you goods or services for it. That's why trust becomes everything. Long ago, trust was personal. You trusted the people you actually knew. When gold arrived, trust turned physical. You trusted the metal in your hand. With paper money, trust turned abstract. You trust institutions you'll never see. You trust systems you can't touch. And that shift changed how humans behave. When money was gold, saving made sense. Gold didn't easily lose value. Time seemed to work on your side. But with paper money, time works against you. Value erodes slowly every year. Not instantly. Quietly. So people start acting differently. You're encouraged to spend. Encouraged to invest. Encouraged to take risks. Standing still becomes the risky choice. And that isn't accidental. A debt-based system cannot survive unless everything keeps moving. Modern economies rest on borrowing. Governments borrow. Corporations borrow. People borrow. Debt creates growth. Growth creates jobs. Jobs create stability. But debt also creates constant pressure. Pressure to expand faster. Pressure to consume more. Pressure to keep the machine running. Paper money becomes the fuel for that engine. At the center sit central banks. They decide how costly money is. They decide how simple borrowing becomes. Interest rates aren't just statistics. They're messages. Low rates whisper. Spend now. Borrow now. Don't wait. High rates warn. Slow down. Save. Pull back on risk. These choices reshape millions of lives. A tiny shift in rates can determine who buys a home, who launches a business, who ends up unemployed. And almost no one ever votes on these decisions. They simply live inside the consequences. That is the invisible power of paper money. Another major change came when money turned digital. Physical cash limits behavior. You can hold it. You can count it. Digital money erases that boundary. When it's just numbers on a screen, spending feels painless. Swipe. Click. Tap. In our minds, digital money feels less real. So consumption grows. Debt grows. And the system benefits. Meanwhile, surveillance grows too. Every transaction leaves a footprint. Every purchase becomes data. Money turns from just an exchange tool into an observation tool. This is a new chapter in the money story. Paper money already demanded trust. Digital money asks for surrender. You now trust not only value. You trust your privacy. Now, let's return to inflation, but deeper. People describe inflation as rising prices. But that's only the symptom. The deeper cause is expanding money supply. When more money chases the same goods, prices move upward. But inflation is never felt equally. Those closest to new money benefit first. Governments spend it. Big institutions receive loans. Assets climb. By the time workers see that money, prices have already shifted. That's why assets inflate before wages. That's why houses, stocks, and land outrun salaries. People without assets feel left behind. Not because they failed, but because the system rewards position more than effort. Paper money quietly rewrites fairness. Hard work alone stops being enough. Timing matters. Access matters. Knowledge matters. Frustration builds. People run faster and still feel stuck. They blame themselves. But often, the structure itself is the problem. Paper money silently creates winners and losers. No announcements. No alarms. Just slow change. Now let's talk about crises. Financial crises aren't random. They repeat patterns. Easy money breeds excess. Excess builds bubbles. Bubbles eventually collapse. After collapse, fear spreads. People crave safety. Governments print more. The cycle begins again. Each cycle deepens reliance on paper money. Each cycle tightens control. So after crises, we often see new rules, new systems, new limits. Fear opens the door to change. Paper money doesn't just fund economies. It reshapes societies. It rewires how people think about success, security, the future. Under gold, patience was rewarded. Under paper, speed is rewarded. And that creates stress. Everyone feels late. Everyone feels behind. Because the system never stops moving. Seeing this removes guilt. You stop blaming yourself for what isn't purely personal failure. Responsibility doesn't vanish. Awareness simply arrives. And awareness is the first step toward freedom. Money education isn't about getting rich. It's about not being shocked. Not shocked by inflation. Not confused by crashes. Not wiped out by cycles. Paper money won't vanish tomorrow. But it will keep evolving. Digital currencies. Central bank digital systems. Cashless economies. Each step boosts efficiency. Each step increases control. The future of money won't mirror the past. But the core rules stay. Trust stays central. Power stays concentrated. Understanding stays rare. Those who understand money don't panic as easily. They plan. They adjust. Those who don't feel lost and angry. That difference shapes lives. Paper money began as a solution. It became a power tool. And now it defines modern existence. Understanding this story isn't optional anymore. Money touches everything. Your time. Your energy. Your future. Now you're not just using money. You're actually seeing it. And once you see it, you can't unsee it. You've now seen where paper money came from. And what it actually does. Not the classroom version. But the one formed by history, power, trust, and human behavior. Money isn't simply paper. It's belief. It's control. It's a system that rewards those who understand it and punishes those who don't. When you truly grasp money, inflation stops feeling mysterious. Crises stop being surprising. And you stop blaming yourself for rules no one ever explained to you. Knowledge won't make you wealthy overnight, but it can protect you for the rest of your life. That's the reason Money Explained exists. To help you see the system for what it is. To encourage independent thinking. And to keep you prepared in a world driven by money. If this video helped you understand money even a little more, be sure to subscribe to Money Explained. Because the more clearly you understand money, the less control it holds over your life. Thanks for watching. And I'll see you in the next episode of Money Explained.